Come on in here, Patty.
It's the place you feel the safest and most secure.
When I turn the water on.
Until something like this happens. In the blink of an eye.
Here we go.
In the next 30 minutes, what you need to know.
We need to back out here, guys.
To keep you and your family safe at home.
Hi, I'm Julie Nelson.
And I'm Randy Shaver. We're here at St. Paul Fire Station number 1.
Last year, this department responded to more than 1,600 fire calls. Many were minor, others were not.
Last year in Minnesota, 56 people died in fires. That's a 44% increase from 2010.
The top 3 causes: cooking, open flames, which include matches, candles, and charcoal lighters, and heating. Every 35 minutes, a fire starts somewhere in Minnesota. We wanted to look at how and why they start.
Since most fires start in the home, we watched as firefighters burned down a Twin Cities house room by room. You'll see the mistakes people make that can change lives forever. Here's Boyd Hoopert.
And the flame went all the way to the top of the window, and that was all I saw.
It was all over. It was on me.
Fire does not schedule home visits.
I never thought ever, it never dawned on me that I might actually get caught in a house fire.
And firefighters do not arrive by appointment. For the purpose of this story, we've decided to change that.
That means it's working, right?
During 2 days of shooting,
Okay, come on in.
a crew of firefighters and KARE 11 photographers with a dozen cameras gathered at the most deadly place for fires in Minnesota, home.
Kitchen with toaster, coffee maker, stove.
Jamie Novak, a St. Paul fire investigator, helped us locate this house in Coon Rapids
We got the bedrooms with furniture.
that was already scheduled for demolition. St. Paul and Coon Rapids firefighters helped make the house livable again. Could be anyone's home in anyone's neighborhood. Could be yours. It was, in a sense.
I'm Patty,
Patty Fellners.
41 years ago.
Patty was newly married and at home in an apartment when fire made one of those surprise visits.
3rd degree on my hand. The rest of both of my hands and my arms were 2nd degree. My face is 1st degree.
Come on in here, Patty.
In a few minutes, in this kitchen, Patty will reconfront her demon. But first we go to the home's back bedroom and the nation's #1 cause of fatal fires.
You shouldn't ever smoke in bed.
Drowse off and drop 1 cigarette, and it's possible to get lucky. But eventually, luck runs out, as it did just last May for the couple who died in this St. Paul home. Smoking in bed was the conclusion investigator Jamie Novak reached.
That cherry on that cigarette's about 1,000 degrees.
Fall asleep, drop a cigarette, and watch what happens in the span of 1 minute.
Now we have the pillow catching on fire.
10 Minnesotans died in smoking fires last year.
We got flames rolling across the ceiling, coming out the door.
1 out of every 5 fire fatalities.
Now the entire bed's on fire. We're gonna keep going back. Okay. Go ahead and put it out.
But we're just getting started.
We're just soaking some linseed oil.
Out in the garage, Jamie is soaking up rags with a wood conditioner used in many oil paints and sealers.
And what happens is people, will be staining their woodwork.
But as it dries, linseed oil generates heat.
We're gonna throw these in boxes.
How much heat, after just a few hours in that box,
854 degrees.
may surprise you.
862 degrees.
You may have heard the term spontaneous combustion.
And there we go.
This is what that means.
We got ignition at about 863 degrees.
In his 28-year career, Jamie Novak estimates he's investigated 30 fires just like
And
this.
when you tell people that's what happened, they're like, no way, it's not from my rags.
Now imagine this being nighttime,
Go ahead, guys.
with no one awake to call the fire department. And all so preventable. Even an old popcorn tin will do. Rags in a metal can filled with water, covered.
No fire.
Back at the front door,
All right.
we have more company.
A candle was left unattended in my house.
Brian Miller was asleep back in April, 3 a.m.
I woke and
saw the flames.
A candle left burning by a departing house guest melted down to the wax and burning wick.
Slid right off the table and right onto the floor.
Brian was lucky.
A candle falling over.
His guest room was damaged, no doubt.
It's starting to spread on the blanket.
But if not for the newly installed smoke detector that woke him,
I'm glad to be out of there.
his small fire would have quickly turned to this.
Come on back.
Unattended candles claimed 7 lives in Minnesota last year.
I was very close to this. So stay with me for a long time.
And just down the hall, this should too.
People who don't have garages, they're storing their gas cans inside their house.
Alone, this gasoline might be fine. But homes also have furnace pilot lights and gas water heaters.
You guys ready?
Say a child or pet kicked over that can. So far, just a mop-up. But what you can't see is the gasoline vapor creeping toward that water heater.
Here we go.
That was only 1 quart of gas.
Here we go.
If some kid was standing in the middle of that puddle, he'd be severely burned and probably in the burn unit right now.
Which brings us back to the kitchen,
I heard it burst into flames. I picked it up.
where Patty Fellner had turned to the sink in her apartment with a pan of burning shortening.
When I turned the water on,
This time, safely outside the kitchen.
now there's flames in the pan, yeah.
Patty is about to see this
This is going to simulate somebody turning on the sink.
for the second time in her life. When water hits burning oil, it bursts into thousands of droplets of burning steam.
That would be exactly what I did with mine.
Patty screamed the burned skin her husband would find on the doorknob.
Yep.
The scars, both physical and emotional. All of it came flooding back. And there's more your family needs to see.
We need to back out here, guys.
Up next, the holiday lesson we all can learn from a Twin Cities dad
I'm still here to tell the story.
and the Christmas Day fire that nearly claimed his life.
As you saw before the break, there are many hidden dangers lurking in your home.
Unexpected fire dangers that could cost you your life.
Yeah, that's burning nicely.
A crackling fire on a crisp day might just be Minnesota's favorite holiday music.
In Danish, we call it hyggeligt, which means cozy.
Steve Mossberg looks very much at home here, though this is not his house.
10-4, I just want you to protect each side of the house.
It's the home to which we invited Steve
I was burned over 63% of my body.
to share his story.
Was in a coma for 6.5 weeks and had 9 skin graft surgeries. This is actually synthetic skin. They had pins in each one of my fingers.
In a few minutes, we will rekindle the family Christmas that started so joyfully and nearly ended Steve Mossberg's life. But first, this house in Coon Rapids has more lessons to offer.
So we'll set this fry pan on here.
That's not a stove that Jamie Novak has chosen for his cooking.
The old halogen lights were quite dangerous.
As a fire investigator for the city of St. Paul, Jamie knows how hot these halogen bulbs burn.
We'll show you how hot this is, that it's even hot enough to fry an egg. Somebody throwing a towel over the top of it.
The Consumer Product Safety Commission knows of 11 deaths
See, you already got smoke.
and nearly 200 fires caused by lamps like this.
There, and we got flame.
Flames in 16 seconds.
Simulate wind.
The lighter fabric in these curtains
It's about 1,000 degrees.
won't even take that long.
We got flames.
40 million of these lamps were sold before 1997 when safety features were added.
We've already got the chair on fire.
Millions are still in homes with unsuspecting owners.
Now we got flames rolling across the ceiling.
This one, purchased by Jamie at a thrift shop, is done. Too late.
Okay, go ahead.
And on the subject of unsuspecting homeowners, we have another guest.
I investigated her fire.
That's Megan Teru, and this is her home, burned in an overnight fire back in July.
I was shocked when he told me what happened.
Megan had friends over earlier that night who went out to smoke. At least one of their cigarettes was put out in a potted plant,
Smoldering.
which contained potting soil, which is not made of soil at all, but things like peat moss and ground pine bark, where fire can smolder over minutes and hours until it finds something to ignite, like a plastic flower pot or wood siding. Then poof.
All from a cigarette into the potting soil.
If not for a smoke detector and an alert paper boy, Megan hates to think
It's a little hard to see.
what might have happened
Yeah.
to her family.
Go ahead and put it out, boys.
And since we're talking about smoldering fires,
You ready?
Jamie sees a lot of this, too. Even when those sparks aren't present, heat can hide for days in ashes from charcoal grills and fire pits.
Now we got open flame.
Coon Rapids had a half dozen of these fires last year.
I bet you there's at least 20 in St. Paul.
Just douse your coals with water sooner
All right, go ahead and put it out, guys.
rather than later. Now, back inside.
This is Pop-Tarts.
Full disclosure, Jamie rigged this toaster to get those Pop-Tarts to jam.
We're getting quite a bit of smoke off it.
But if you think this can't happen,
There we go. Now we have ignition.
take a look at this toaster fire that started after the occupants of the kitchen were called away suddenly. By the way, they were Coon Rapids firefighters, and this is their station.
The fire's spreading.
This is why Jamie tells people to keep their toasters away from paper towels and out from under cabinets.
Now we're catching everything on fire.
Left to burn, the whole house would be toast.
Okay, come on in.
But we are not done with it yet. Christmas Day 2000.
I was crumpling up the paper rather than putting it into garbage bags. I was just stoking the fire with it.
This was the actual layout of Steve Mossberg's living room. Christmas tree too close. Pine garland on the fireplace mantel.
It was just hot enough for the sparks to come out and catch the live garland.
Fire followed the garland to the drapes and the tree.
I got my daughter and my wife to safety at the side door.
Then Steve, trying to save his house, made a terrible mistake.
And that was to try and twist the tree down and drag it to the front door.
That's when the tree exploded.
Exploded.
Unable to open the front door because of the changing pressure in the house.
Now you can see the thick black smoke.
Blindly, Steve followed his wife's frantic calls.
I had to walk through the smoke and the fire to get to the side door out to safety.
Steve's back, hands, head, and feet were severely burned.
It's 1,500 degrees on the ceiling.
A paramedic told a neighbor Steve probably wouldn't survive.
Cozy to tragedy doesn't take very long.
The pain, both physical and emotional, the strain on his family, $1.2 million in medical costs.
All that would have been avoided by just walking out the door.
Firefighters and $70,000 in repairs did save Steve's house, while Coon Rapids and St. Paul firefighters put just enough water on ours to keep it from spreading to the neighbors.
There's no way anybody'd survive this fire right now.
It almost feels like walking up and facing your fears in a way.
Last year, nationwide, more than 2,500 people perished in house fires. In the words of Jamie Novak, the three leading causes were men, women, and children.
Up next, we tell you how to stay safe at home.
Kitchen fires, and the one thing you should never do if you ever have to put one out. The leading cause of structure fires in Minnesota, cooking.
46% of all fires reported last year started in the kitchen.
Here now, the right and wrong way to put out the flames.
I vividly remember getting the phone call. Very difficult. That's my mother.
Fire has a face in Minnesota. And heartbreak has a name.
Willa Mae she was something else.
Willie Mae Coleman is the face of what can happen when a fire starts in a kitchen.
She had been burnt over 70% of her body.
Don Coleman lost his mother last summer at the age of 75 from burns she received in her St. Paul apartment while standing at the stove frying chicken. He was with her at Regents Hospital when she died.
I remember what she smelled like. I remember what she looked like. And that's no vision that any child wants to remember of their parent.
Kitchen fires happen every day in Minnesota. Cooking is the leading cause of the state's residential fires, more than heating, candles, smoking, and arson combined. With that statistic in mind, we enlisted the help of the volunteer fire departments in Green Isle and Arlington, borrowed a house slated for demolition, and sought the expertise of one of Minnesota's most respected fire investigators.
We're putting a cup of oil in here.
Jamie Novak of the St. Paul Fire Department.
I've seen it morning, I've seen it late night, I've seen it after the bars close. Somebody comes home and decides they got the munchies for French